Nolan Wells' cell phone is not helping his case whatsoever. His parents thought they had the smoking gun, but it's looking like since it's been tampered with, there's nothing this phone can do to help his case.
There are significant new developments in the mysterious death of 18-year-old Nolan Wells that we want to talk about tonight. Now, Wells disappeared after boating with friends on July 4th weekend. Days later, his body was found in the water near Horn Island off Mississippi's Gulf Coast. And while investigators have said that drowning appears to be the preliminary cause of death, even though the official findings from the autopsy haven't been released, his family has continued to raise questions, right? Why did he go off on his own? Why didn't he have a cell phone? How could no one help? How could no one notice? Well, today, the Jackson County District Attorney met face-to-face with Nolan's parents and their legal team for the first time. And after that meeting, the family announced that once investigators complete their work, this case is going to be presented to a grand jury. Now, to be clear, that doesn't mean charges are coming, but it does seem to suggest that jurors are going to review the evidence to determine whether any criminal charges should be filed. The family says the DA also made clear that no decisions about possible charges are going to be made until the sheriff's investigation is complete. And there's also another major development, and this involves one of the most important pieces of evidence in this case, Nolan's cell phone. The phone was reportedly with Nolan's friends. The family says that they believe content may have been removed from the device before it was returned. Now the phone is going to apparently undergo a joint forensic examination with both law enforcement and the family's independent experts reviewing the device together. They hope it can provide critical answers about Nolan's final hours.
It sounds like the sheriff office is already done investigating. Regardless of what they bring forward, how much money and resources is it going to take for them to go through a cell phone and everything already been deleted? It's sort of like they're fighting a fight that they can't win. I hope they win, because this young man deserves justice, but they got Reverend Al Sharpton on the job, and if anything, he's going to go where the money goes.
What more evidence do you think is needed for the sheriffs and the investigators to say that there is suspected foul play in this case?
I think that the evidence that is needed to build on is already there. Have they brought these three young men in for questioning under oath? Have they gone through a search of fingerprints and other things on the cell phone? Either they are doing policing or they're doing covering up.
Are there any unanswered questions you think investigators still need to answer?
I think they need to answer why they didn't go get the phone and the keys. Why did it have to be his father run it down? I think they have to answer why they immediately said there was no foul play. I think they have to answer, have they interrogated the three young men? I think they have to answer where there's a reported a video of the young men and him being Nolan arguing, and he said something about his freaking phone. Well, what is on that tape? What are they arguing about? And how did you not question them about the argument? There's a lot of things that law enforcement would have to answer.
Do you think race will play a role in the outcome of this case?
I do not know that race played a role, but I do not know race did not play a role. You got to look at the possibility of racism at different levels. One, were any of the three guys racist? All right. Two, were the prosecutors and the enforcement when the body was found? Is there a racial double standard there? Many of us feel that there were three black guys and a white kid was missing. They would have held them probably in custody and certainly had them seriously under scrutiny on if it was the reverse, in our opinion. But the family has said they don't want to say race, but they don't want it taken off the table. How do we know? Unfortunate part is with this present administration in Washington, Donald Trump, you can't even say, as we've said historically, whether it was from Abner Louima in the 90s to George Floyd a couple of years ago, we'll go get the feds. You can't get this Justice Department. What we can do, though, is go to state court and sue and depose these young men on what they would do.
They would do a better job if they just spread awareness to people about being in situations you can't win. We're the We Can't Win campaign to get it through people's heads, to get it through the kids' heads. The next time you go out, you get invited to a birthday party or whatever, your kid go to an all-white school and they want Sasha to come to the birthday party. It's gonna be a sleepover. Mackenzie's gonna be there. Jesse, her friends, they're all gonna be there. She's gonna be the only black girl. And we're gonna have a sleepover for 3 nights. And with a campaign going, the We Can't Win campaign, you might second guess and say, no, I don't think Sasha's gonna be able to stay tonight with Mackenzie for the sleepover. We'll bring a gift. We'll come get a slice of cake or something, but due to the odds, I don't think that's a good idea. They will do a better job using this man's name to spread awareness. His mother a Lizzo fan. And ain't nothing wrong with that. She could be a fan of whoever. Her son lost his life. And I know people mourn differently. I'm not going to keep on going back and forth about how she's smiling stuff. Sometimes you got to smile or laugh to keep from crying. People do stuff like that. I'm pretty sure she hurt to the core. We all hurt about the situation, but is it money that they're after at this point? Because that's where you draw the line. You either want justice or you want the money. You might get half the justice and half the money. But if you got a choice, would you take the money? Because this lawyer, he not cheap. Al Sharpton, he all about that bread. So by them going at this angle this fast, it got me under the impression that they want money and it can easily be paid off. And when you think about all the other victims, police brutality or whatever made international news, families got paid. And a lot of times that's justice enough for situations like this. They're going to drag this as long as they can. It's sort of like workers' comp. Or if you get in an accident and you got to go to the hospital, you got to prove your injury. You got to keep going. And the longer you go to the hospital or whatever, the bigger the payout going to be. Go see the chiropractor. The longer that go on, then, the bigger the payout. You really got to prove the injury in order to get paid. Like I said, justice will be served if they push the narrative of how unsafe these situations really are. But we're going to move along. I want y'all to listen at this a little more, and then we're going to circle back to some other stuff.
Could be a key piece of evidence in the eventual inspection by the DA's office and experts from Crump's legal team.
The hope is that when this is presented to the grand jury, all relevant witnesses and evidence will be presented to them so that we can have a fair and impartial investigation.
The phone could be a key piece of evidence in the investigation, as Wells's mother expressed concerns about possible deleted material.
When me and my sister went through it, there was nothing. No saved videos, there was nothing in there.
The 18-year-old college football player was last seen on July 4th on a boating trip with friends to Horn Island, 10 miles from Mississippi's Gulf Coast. GPS data obtained by the Mississippi Department of Marine Resources shows the boat arriving at the island at 11:14 a.m. Friends he was with told investigators Wells chose to stay on the island as they left. His mother reported him missing that night.
A little bit of proof, a little bit of evidence will go a long way in this case, but his family have no proof, no evidence of anything besides the fact that their son never made it back home.
I want to bring in Donte Mills, a national trial attorney at Mills Legal. Good to see you, sir. Significant that the family met with the DA, but potential grand jury. Does that signify to you that there's criminal culpability here?
Jesse, not yet. Listen, this is every parent's worst nightmare. You have your child goes out with friends and everybody comes back except your child. So I understand the position they're taking where they want answers. They want to know why this tragic situation happened, and they're willing to do anything to get those answers. And I think rightfully so. Any parent will feel the same way. But let's not jump to conclusions here. We also can't look at what the family is saying and kind of take that as law, because they're going to hear investigators investigators talk the way they kind of want to ingest the information. So the investigators are saying, they're saying, listen, we're doing an investigation. We plan on moving forward. However, the evidence shows, the family can come out of that thinking, well, there has to be something there. So clearly they're going to have something to present to the grand jury, but that's not necessarily the case.
And to be clear, it does not necessarily have to be or would be a homicide charge. There could be other crimes associated with this investigation, even if somebody misled law enforcement, which I'm not saying happened, but you could present anything to a grand jury, right?
Absolutely. And we don't have to be talking about murder or homicide. This could be an accidental death where there was evidence tampering, right? Where they tampered with the evidence, maybe deleted something from the cell phone that just seemed weird or odd, or put somebody else in a bad light. So they did that so they wouldn't look bad, even though it had nothing to do with the death itself.
I got to say, I'm a little confused by the cell phone. I've seen reports that the family hadn't initially handed over to law enforcement, and now it's going to be this joint examination both by the family's experts and law enforcement's experts and investigators. How does that work exactly? Have you ever heard of that before?
I have. I've actually done those forensic analysis of electronic devices where I've had my expert go in and capture these devices, actually get them from the investigators themselves. It's a little different than when you're talking about blood samples or something like that, when you're passing it around and you don't want to do that because it could be, contaminated. With electronic evidence, those things are going to be consistent. It's going to show when a text message was sent, what was included in that text message. There's going to be time blocks and things like that that are really difficult to change and almost impossible to change. So I've had situations where I've done investigations at the same time as the federal or state investigators to try and get that data off of phones, laptops, computers, other things like that. It's different than what you normally think of like passing around blood samples or bullet, fragments or something, where fingerprints can be transferred or something like that.
So that means every text message, every phone call, everything you ever did on the cell phone is somewhere in the data center maybe, and they can have access to it depending on who they go through to get the information. Now it's a race to see who can get to it first. And by them letting the public know, letting the world know what they're doing, that's only lessening their odds to really get some evidence off that phone. If there's something on there, best believe whoever took him out, or if somebody took him out, they already got to it before the family got around to it.